GPS-3 space vehicle 05 SV05 mission goes wrong in space? Hello and welcome back to another video. Last month in June, SpaceX undertook the task of getting US Special Forces GPS-3 system to space. In today's video we'll have all the updates regarding that mission. Was the mission a success or was it a failure? Stay tuned and watch the video right until the end. The new GPS space vehicle. GPS-3 SV05 is the 24th military code M-code signal-enabled GPS space vehicle on orbit, completing the Constellation baseline requirement to provide the nation's military forces a more secure, harder to jam and spoof GPS signal. The GPS-3 satellites provide significant capability advancements over earlier designed GPS satellites on orbit, including 3 times better accuracy, up to 8 times improved anti-jamming capabilities, a new L1C civil signal, which is compatible with international global navigation satellite systems like Europe's Galileo to improve civilian user connectivity. About 90 minutes after the 12:09 p.m. Eastern Time liftoff from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, U.S. Space Force and Lockheed Martin engineers at the company's Denver GPS-3 Launch and Checkout Operations Center declared GPS-3 SV05 separated from the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and flying under their control. In the coming days, GPS-3 SV05's onboard liquid apogee engine will continue to propel the satellite towards its operational orbit. After it arrives, engineers will send the satellite commands to deploy its solar arrays and antennas and prepare GPS-3 SV05 for handover to Space Operations Command. Part of U.S. critical national infrastructure, GPS drives an estimated $300 billion in annual economic benefits and is responsible for $1.4 trillion since its inception. Globally, more than 4 billion military, civil, and commercial users depend on the GPS positioning, navigation, and timing signals. Lockheed Martin is part of the GPS-3 team led by Space Production Corp's Medium Earth Orbit Division and the U.S. Space Force's Space and Missile Systems Center, Los Angeles Air Force Base. The GPS Operational Control Segment Sustainment is managed by the Enterprise Corps, GPS Sustainment Division at Peterson Air Force Base. The 2nd Space Operations Squadron at Schriever Air Force Base manages and operates GPS constellation for both civil and military users. With GPS-3 SV05, we continue our focus on rapidly fielding innovative capabilities at the Space Force's positioning, navigation, and timing mission, said Tanya Ladwig, Lockheed Martin Vice President for Navigation Systems. With each satellite we bring to orbit, we help the U.S. Space Force modernize the GPS constellation's technology and imagine future capability. Our next 3 satellites, GPS-3, SV06, SV07, and SV08, are already complete and just waiting for the launch date. The earlier launch info release. On June 17th, SpaceX successfully launched the upgraded Global Positioning System GPS satellite into orbit for the U.S. Space Force USSF. The flight, the 19th launch this year for SpaceX and its workhorse Falcon 9 rocket, lifted off from the Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station during a 15-minute window that opened at 12:09 p.m. Eastern Time, 16:09 GMT. Peach atop the rocket is a GPS-3 SV05 satellite, which was built by Lockheed Martin. This is the 5th launch of an ungraded next-generation GPS-3 satellite to date. Built by Lockheed Martin in Colorado, these upgraded GPS satellites are some of the most sophisticated spacecrafts ever built. They're equipped with anti-jamming capabilities, and they're more robust than previous iterations and more powerful signals for increased accuracy, according to Lockheed Martin representatives. This launch featured the 5th in a series of 10 upgraded GPS-3 satellites for the military that join the current constellation of satellites already in orbit. These crucial satellites help to provide positioning, navigation, and timing services for more than 4 billion users worldwide. GPS-3 SV05 will replace an aging predecessor that was launched 2 decades ago. Last year, Space Force officials announced that the U.S. military had granted SpaceX permission to launch national security payloads on previously flown rockets. The news followed on the heels of another recent decision to allow SpaceX to recover the first stages of Falcon 9 boosters used on national security missions, something that was previously not allowed. The mission was the first to fly on a veteran Falcon 9. After ferrying the GPS satellite into space, the rocket will then land back on Earth on a floating platform at sea. The Just Read the Instructions droneship. The star of the mission has previously flown Falcon 9 first stage, known as B1062 to SpaceX. The first stage is embarking on the 2nd mission, after lifting another GPS satellite last year. The current GPS constellation is composed of 31 operational spacecraft. GPS satellites operate in the Medium Earth Orbit MEO at an altitude of approximately 20,200 kilometers, 12,550 miles, in 6 orbital planes, which satellite circles the Earth twice per day. The last generation of the GPS satellite boasts a 15-year design life, which is 25% longer than the previous generation of GPS satellites on orbit. GPS-3 brings new capabilities to users such as the L1C civilian signal that opens the windows for future interoperability with international satellite navigation systems. We are building on the successful booster recoveries of the GPS-3 and the GPS-3-4 last year and making a historic step on the GPS-3-5 mission using a previously flown vehicle, said Colonel Robert Bongovi, Launch Enterprise Director. The affordability and flexibility provided with SpaceX's reused launch vehicles open additional opportunities for future NSL missions and provide our nation's warfighters with the advanced capabilities that they need. The GPS-3 program office, in partnership with our contract teammates, continues to push the envelope of the capabilities they deliver to users, both civil and military, around the globe, said Mr. Cordell de la Peña Jr., U.S. Space Force Program Executive Office for Space Production. Our latest GPS-3 satellites. Nearly 70% digital payload provides the Space Force with greater operational flexibility, as well as cutting-edge capabilities while continuing to support legacy users. Fueled off with success of our latest GPS-3 SV04 launch, I look forward to the successful launch of the SV05 just 7 months later. Our GPS program team overcame numerous challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic to safely and successfully launch GPS-3 SV04. The resilience and ingenuity validated a new concept of operations, which have paved the way for the launch of the GPS-3 SV05 just 7 months later, said Colonel Edward Byrne, MEO Space Systems Division Chief. SV05 will continue to modernize our GPS constellation by increasing the capabilities with advanced features for both our civil and military users across the world. SpaceX has had a big year putting multiple payloads into orbit and has been particularly successful in reusing its first stage rockets and landing them successfully. Unfortunately, it hasn't fared as well as the testing off the much larger, more powerful Starship rocket, which has failed spectacularly multiple times, resulting in explosions and lost vehicles. SpaceX continues to maintain the vehicle loss are expected in early testing programs. SpaceX seems to be the go-to to private space company to take the US government payload to space. Recently, NASA's latest government organization for use SpaceX services. NASA is getting ready to send astronauts to explore more of the moon as part of the Artemis program, and the agency has selected SpaceX to continue development of the first commercial human lander that will safely carry the next two astronauts to the lunar surface. At least one of these astronauts will make history as the first woman on the moon. Another goal of the Artemis program includes landing the first person of color on the lunar surface. The agency's powerful Space Launch System rocket will launch 4 astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft for their multi-day journey to lunar orbit. There, 2 crew members will transfer the SpaceX Human Landing System (HLS) for the final leg of their journey to the surface of the moon. After approximately a week exploring the surface, they will board the lander for their short trip back to orbit, where they will return to Orion and their colleagues before heading back to Earth. The firm fixed price, milestone-based contract total award value $2.89 billion. With this award, NASA and our partners will complete the first crewed demonstration mission to the surface of the moon in the 21st century as the agency takes a step forward for women's equality and long-term deep space exploration, said Kathy Luters, NASA's Association Administration for Human Explorations and Operations Mission Director 8. The critical step puts humanity on a path to sustainable lunar exploration and keeps our eyes on missions farther into the solar system, including Mars. SpaceX has been working closely with NASA experts during the HLS base period of performance to inform its lander design and ensure it meets NASA's performance requirements and human space flight standards. A key tenet for space systems, these agreed upon standards range from areas of engineering, safety, health, and medical technical areas. This is an exciting time for NASA and especially the Artemis team, said Lisa Watson Morgan, program manager for HLS at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. During the Apollo program, we proved that it is possible to do the seemingly impossible, land humans on the moon, by taking a collaborative approach and working with industry while leveraging NASA's proven technical expertise and capabilities. We will return American astronauts to the moon's surface once again, this time to explore new areas for longer periods of time. SpaceX's HLS Starship, designed to land on the moon, leans on the company's tested Raptor engines and flight heritage of the Falcon and Dragon vehicles. Starship includes a spacious cabin and 2 airlocks for astronaut moonwalks. The Starship architecture is intended to evolve to a fully reusable launch and landing system designed to travel to the moon, Mars, and other destinations. The HLS award is made under the Next Space Technologies for Exploration Partnerships, Next Step 2, Appendix H Broad Agency Announcement, BAA. In parallel with executing the Appendix H award, NASA intends to implement a competitive procurement for sustainable crewed lunar surface transportation. Services that will provide human access to the lunar surface using the Gateway on a regularly reoccurring basis beyond the initial crewed demonstration mission. With NASA's Space Launch System rocket, Orion spacecraft, HLS, and the Gateway Lunar Outpost, NASA, its commercial and international partners are returning to the moon for scientific discovery, economic benefits, and inspiration for a new generation. Working with its partners through the Artemis program, the agency will fine-tune precision landing technologies and develop new mobility capabilities to enable exploration of new regions of the moon. On the surface, the agency has proved building a new habitat and rovers, testing new power systems, and more. There are other innovations and advancements made under the Artemis program that will ensure that NASA and its partners are ready for human exploration's next big step, the exploration of Mars. Thanks for watching.